Taurus, have you ever stayed not because you wanted to, but because you were afraid that if you left, everything you'd carefully built would fall apart? I understand, because your soul once whispered, "I'm the last foundation holding on. I don't have the right to crumble." But now, it's time to ask, who will protect you if you keep trying to protect everything except yourself? This video isn't here to convince you to let go. It's here to remind you you're not leaving to escape, you're leaving to find fertile ground for your soul. And that journey begins in the place every steadfast soul must eventually face. The moment when carrying the weight becomes too much to bear. Listen closely, because what comes next is the beginning of your rebirth. My dear Taurus, if you feel like you're standing on familiar ground that no longer nourishes you, if your heart has been quietly cracking under the pressure night after night, and you no longer know why, then maybe this isn't random. It's a message you've waited lifetimes to hear, because your soul, your Taurus soul, was never meant to be hollow. You came to create stability. You stayed when no one else had the patience. You built when others gave up. You silently carried the load until you forgot what you truly wanted, lost somewhere in the act of maintaining. I don't know what you're holding on to. A relationship, a house, a promise, a career. I only know this. It's time to pause. Not to give up on everything, but to ask yourself, does this stability still bring me peace? I used to be like you. I once clung to a job that drained my soul just because I believed, if I quit, who will carry the weight? I held together a home whose foundation had cracked because I told myself, if I let go, who will keep it together? But then one night, a very quiet, very real night, I sat with empty hands and I finally understood. Nothing needed saving except me. I needed to be rescued from the version of myself that had forgotten how to simply be. Taurus, you have loved with all your loyalty and consistency. You have forgiven more than any heart should have to bear. You stayed silent even when you were the one hurting most. You didn't stay because you didn't know how to leave. You stayed because you believed that endurance was the only way to prove your worth. But did anyone see that? Did anyone ever look into your tired eyes and ask, are you okay? Did anyone ever place a hand on your shoulder and say, you don't have to carry it all anymore? Maybe not, because you've always been the rock for others to lean on. But you know something? True peace doesn't ask you to turn to stone. Healing doesn't come from enduring more. It comes from choosing your own comfort, without guilt, without fear. If tonight you feel that exhaustion settle in again in the dark, if you've become so used to quietly weathering the storm, I want you to understand this. You are not weak. You are simply a soul that has carried burdens that no longer belong to you for far too long. And that fatigue is your final wake-up call, a sacred bell ringing from within to remind you that you deserve to rest. You deserve to enjoy the beauty you've worked so hard to create. You deserve to walk away, not because you're selfish, but because it's time for your own garden to bloom again. This upcoming farewell, whether it's with a person, a role, or a routine, is not a loss. It is a soul's rite of renewal. It is the moment you take off the heavy armor that has stifled your breath. It is the moment you look in the mirror and no longer see a survivor, but someone who is finally, truly beginning to live. I don't know how long you've been enduring, but I do know one thing. No one was born to live forever on barren land. No soul came into this life to stay trapped in an old routine. And no Taurus was ever meant to keep building without ever getting to enjoy the home they created. So, if you hear this, if your heart trembles, if you feel a deep heaviness without knowing why, that is the sign. That is the signal that the time for a change can no longer be postponed. And do you know what's miraculous? When you truly walk away, it's not only you who is set free. Those who once depended on your stability are also released, so they can learn to find their own footing. You step back, so the order of things can realign. You walk away, so the universe can reset its flow. And if you still find it hard to let go, try writing this down right now. I accept change to return to myself. Write it as a ritual, as a tiny promise, just enough for the universe to hear. And if you're brave enough, tell me, what is the hardest thing for you to release? Maybe it's a sense of security, a memory, or a former version of yourself, the one who spent years just to prove they were reliable. Write it down, because maybe another Taurus soul out there needs to read the very words you're about to write. Leaving is the first step, but after you leave, you'll enter a terrifying space, a feeling of being unmoored, an instability no one ever prepared you for. And that is exactly where the next chapter begins. The uncertainty before your rebirth. Once you've stepped beyond that familiar door, the first thing waiting for you is not freedom, it is silence. A hush that doesn't feel peaceful, an emptiness that doesn't feel serene. A space suspended between two worlds, where the old one no longer fits and the new one has no name yet. That's when you begin to wonder, did I do the right thing? Was I too impulsive? Do I even deserve to live a different life? Or was this just a foolish dream? You'll walk through nights without the familiar text, asking if you've eaten. You'll wake up to mornings where the old routine is gone, and the silence feels colder than you expected. And inside, it won't just be loneliness, you'll feel hollow, as if the foundation was ripped out from under you. But dear Taurus, listen closely to this. The instability you're feeling is the fertile soil your soul needs to bloom again. That frightening silence is the place where your old obligations are dissolving, so your true desires can finally have the space to grow. You are not lost, you are being tilled. And like a field before planting season, there will come a stage where even you don't recognize your own landscape anymore. No one teaches you about this silence. No class prepares you for this spiritual solitude where you can't share it with anyone, where even your emotions refuse to be named. Because this is not ordinary sadness, this is the grief of a soul awakening. I know you want to go back. You long for a familiar touch, a predictable comfort, even if it comes from a place that never truly nourished you. But be careful. This is the moment when your heart is most fragile. This is the moment you're most likely to return to what's already expired, just so you don't have to feel this void. Don't trade the freedom you just touched for temporary comfort. Don't fill the silence with artificial noise, because this silence, though it hurts, is the gate that leads you home. I too have sat in the middle of the night, clutching my phone just to check if anyone still needed me. But the only thing I truly needed at that moment was not a message from someone else. It was a promise to myself that I will stay with me, even when no one else does. Have you ever done that? Have you ever placed your hand over your heart in a cold and empty room and whispered, "I choose my own peace, today and every day after"? If not, then do it tonight. No flowers, no witnesses, just you and your presence, fully offered to your own soul. You may begin to notice strange synchronicities. You may start to hear whispers, not as voices, but as gut feelings. You may see repeating numbers, strange signs, old songs playing at just the right moment. Don't be afraid. You are not losing control. You are being guided, because your soul, after years of silence, has finally found a place to speak. And in this stillness, you'll begin to hear something clearer than ever before. You no longer need to prove your worth. Not to your parents, not to your partner, not to your friends. You are allowed to simply be, and that is enough. If right now, your throat feels tight, if a tear rises for no reason, you can know this. It is not weakness. It is new life awakening within you, like a seed pushing through the soil, slowly but with unwavering strength. You are beginning to live again, and this stillness, it is not a prison. It is the space you've been given to hear yourself for the very first time. So, do not fear the silence. Now, as a sacred vow, I allow the silence to lead me back to the light. And if you're brave enough, tell me, when was the last time you truly felt ungrounded? Share it, not just with me, but for another soul who might be searching for empathy in this very moment. And then, when you're still enough to truly listen, you'll start to hear the things you've long avoided, the quiet ache, the unlived dreams, the calling you've been too afraid to answer. And that is when your true awakening begins. How long has it been since you did something simply for the pleasure of it? How long has it been since you tended to a houseplant, cooked a delicious meal just for yourself, or put on a record and did nothing but listen? How long has it been since you said goodbye to the very sensual joys that used to nourish you, just because someone else said they were unproductive? Taurus, I know life may have turned you into the one who carries everything. Maybe you had to raise a family, pay the bills, hold a stable role. And little by little, you traded away your inner light to become a responsible adult. You stopped gardening, stopped cooking, stopped enjoying. Not because you stopped loving it, but because you believed you no longer had the right to love those things. But did you know? The things you once loved never left you. They simply went quiet, softly waiting for you to return and call them by name once more. Can you hear that whisper? The voice of the garden you once tended, the song you used to hum when no one was watching, the scent of the recipe you once loved but stopped making because you were afraid someone might call it indulgent. All of it is the breath of your soul. And if you do not breathe it back in, you will go on living in a body that looks complete, but a soul that is starving. I, too, have once abandoned the things I loved most, not because I wanted to, but because I believed if I took time for myself, I was selfish. If I chased my simple pleasures, I would leave behind the ones who needed me. I used to think my happiness must come after my responsibilities, but one day, I woke up and realized I had become a copy of myself, still breathing, still working, still talking, but no longer glowing. No more sparkles, no more me. Taurus, you don't need to succeed by someone else's definition. You don't need to prove to the world that you are good enough by doing what you don't love. You only need to live in your frequency. That frequency may not be loud, may not be flashy, may not be applauded by the crowd, but it is real, it is beautiful, and it is yours. And when you touch that frequency, all doors will open, because the universe does not summon those who are standard. The universe only guides those who vibrate in rhythm with their own soul. Remember when you were a child? Did anyone need to teach you how to enjoy a warm blanket? Did you need a reason to sing? Did you need a plan to build a sandcastle? Because within you was a fountain of endless creation, an ocean of sensation, intuition, and earthly wisdom just waiting for you to open your heart so it could rise again. And if you are trembling right now, I understand. You're afraid of being judged, afraid someone will say, at your age and still dreaming, afraid you're not talented enough, not skilled enough, not enough. But listen, love. Your joy never asked you to be perfect. It only asked that you show up. Show up with your true heart. Show up like a long-lost lover who now wishes to hold their passion again with reverence. I believe if you stay silent long enough, you'll begin to see a flicker of light, not blinding, but persistent. It is the creative, sensual energy that has long been suppressed inside you, knocking gently at your door. You can choose to ignore it, or you can open that door and begin again. You don't have to become a master chef overnight. You don't have to write a best-selling book. You don't have to make money from your passion right away. You only need to give yourself permission to live authentically. Write this down right now. As a gentle awakening, I give the creative and sensual energy within me permission to come alive again. And if you've ever loved something but stopped because of someone else, tell me about it. Tell it like a ritual to restore your soul. Because when you write it down, you are giving your spirit permission to live again. Maybe it's a dream of opening a small bakery, a pottery wheel hidden in your garage, the herb garden you've thought about for 5 years but never started. None of it ever truly disappeared. It's only been waiting for you to speak the first word, to plant the first seed, to take your first breath again. Dear Taurus, you are the soul of the earth, of nourishment, of beauty, and of light. And when you live in alignment with that energy, you don't just live for yourself. You become a grounding force for those whose inner flame is fading. Let the passion you once dropped become the spark that lights a cold world. And when you come alive again, radiant, grounded, pulsing with life, remember this: you were never forgotten. You only needed to be remembered by your own heart. And so, we close this journey, not as a goodbye, but as a doorway opening for you to step through, with a heart that finally belongs to itself. Taurus, thank you for staying until the very end. Wherever you are, however you feel, please remember this: departure is not to disappear. It is so that at last you may truly live as a soul freed from its cocoon. I hope you walk forward with a heart full of gratitude and hands that no longer cling to what was. May the road ahead lead you to the most grounded, radiant version of yourself you've ever met.